Welcome back, everyone, to this edition of the Stogie Geek Show. This segment is brought to you by Mr. J's Havana Smoke Shop. Tomorrow, Friday, October 24th, Mr. J's will be hosting a free cigar sample and meet and greet with Jean-Michel Louise of Saga Cigars, a new Dominican cigar company. Stop by anytime between 3 and 7 p.m. for your free, that's right, free cigar. Mr. J's next Monday night cigar tasting takes place at Melanzi's on November 3rd. That's a Monday night with Lauren Ferraro featuring Aroa Cigars. You've seen Lauren on the show at least twice here on the Stogie Geek Show, specifically their new Maduro and Corojo blends. Tickets are available now in the shop, $25 each. It's a great event. We've covered it before. I've attended. It's fabulous.
Yeah, Paul, let me just comment on Jean-Michel Louis.
Yeah.
If folks are in Rhode Island, you got to meet this guy. I met him at IPCPR. I spent some time with him. Phil Zengi actually introduced me to him. His brand Saga Cigars, they really have some nice complex blends coming out of the Reyes factory. I'd really encourage if folks are around there tomorrow to go check out that cigar and meet Jean-Michel. I think it will be a really good experience.
Very cool. Let's see. You know what? I'm going to kick it off first, Will, with an unbanded cigar. How about that?
Oh, I think that's awesome. Let's do it.
I got it unbanded from Zedman. We talked about this, I think, last week. Maybe not. No, I talked about it on Zed via Google Chat and ATL and Pete from Australia. He was like, I sent you an unbanded cigar. And I'm like, crap, where is that? I'm like, I must have put it in my travel case. And then I'm like, oh, this is the unbanded cigar that Zed was talking about. So I smoked it today. It was a nice medium-bodied smoke. The flavors kept my attention. I'd give it a 5. Again, I thought it was good. Nice flavors. Had some toastiness components to it. It was very smooth, pretty well balanced. I really liked it. I mean, it was a solid 5. I'm dying to find out what this cigar is, but I have to wait for Zedman to put it in the chat because until he does, we don't know what the cigar is. It was a Toro-ish size cigar, maybe 52, maybe like a 6 by 52 would be a traditional Toro size, right, Will? And it was roughly that size. So a buttery characteristic. It was a Johnny O. Canonzo.
Wow.
Johnny O. Canon. Can you tell us about that? How do you say that, first of all?
I got to be honest, I know of the cigar. I don't know much about it.
Okay.
Other than I've had it, and it's really good.
Yeah. Johnny O. Canonzo. Canonzo? Did I say that right? Canonzano?
Canonzanos.
Canonzanos?
That's the size.
Canonazo. Canon. You figured you unbanned me a cigar. I can't say the friggin' name. Thanks, that man. It was good, though. I'm glad that he sent it to me because it was a good cigar. I just suck at pronouncing things. So.
Yeah, I mean, I know that they use the Cuban names on the Johnny O's. They have like a Genios, and they're very good. I remember a few years ago they really kind of had a lot of they kind of had a cult following.
Nice. Yeah, it was very good. I would seek out more for sure. So thank you very much, Zedman, for the unbanded. There's a lot of fun. I like smoking the unbandeds. I think it's great. I think we need to do more of it here on the show.
I think we'll do some on the 3rd anniversary show.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we'll each give some to each other. Yeah, so.
That sounds good.
Yeah, in fact, I just there's a site out there called Blind Man's Puff that actually does all blind cigar reviews, and I actually just got to participate in their process, and they've got it down to a science how they do this, and I just did a blind review for them, and I don't know what the cigar is. I think it's coming out in the next couple of days. I'm dying to find out. The process they did was really fun.
Cool. Will, what do you got on your list?
I'm going to make one comment before I go on my list. I'm telling you, this Paul Stulak White Blinding Light, excuse me. This is a box-worthy cigar. I mean,
nice.
I'm kind of having one of those Stogie Santa moments with this cigar right now.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
I'm just enjoying it that much, so really hats off to that. But I'll kick it off with the H. Upman, the Banker. Which is a cigar. It's been out for about 6 months, and I smoked the Toro size, which is called the Annuity, which is an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, a Jalapa binder, and a combination Nicaraguan and Dominican filler. The Annuity is a 6x52 Toro. This cigar, the story with this cigar is that Hermann Upmann was a German banker who went to Cuba. He built a Cuban cigar factory, and he had, I guess, a cigar that would be the equivalent of a private cigar, a personal cigar that he gave out to friends. And I guess Altadis USA is now trying to recreate what that blend is. I can't say if this is at
Yeah.
all like the Cuban blend, other than it didn't smoke like a Cuban. Um, but that being said, I had this cigar about 6 months ago, and it was kind of it wasn't a bad cigar. It was probably it was a good cigar. I definitely had some burn and draw issues early on, but I've gone back and revisited this cigar actually a few times this week, and it really it definitely a few months of time. And maybe this batch that I had was just better. Great natural tobacco sweetness. It had just the right amount of spice. A little bit of hints of chocolate came in from there to there. It's a medium strength, medium bodied cigar that you can have any time of the day. The burn and draw were fantastic. I gave it a fiver. I thought, like I said, I don't think it's gonna smoke anything like a Cuban, so I'm not sure how much I subscribe to the story, but it's not a bad cigar to try out, and it's a good cigar. I think, like I said, any time of the day to really give it to any type of smoker.
Cool. Next on my list, I smoked a Padron 50th Maduro.
Oh, I want to hear about this.
Yeah. um, this is a box pressed Robusto, I would call it. Beautiful looking cigar. I mean, you can see from the picture. I mean, there's hardly any veins in the wrapper, as evidenced by the
Yeah.
picture. This needs some time. It's interesting. It reminds me of the 85th a little bit when it first came out, as it's somewhat kind of potent and almost overwhelms your senses. It's got a really strong Nicaraguan punch to it for sure, as a lot of these Padrones do, especially the anniversaries when they first come out. And I didn't grow to really love the Family Reserve 85th, both natural and Maduro, until it kind of had settled out for like a year. I smoked a couple of them when they first came out, and I was just like, it was good, but it just kind of overwhelmed my senses. This had that, not to that extreme. It's not as extreme as overwhelming senses as the 85th, but it does some of that, especially in the beginning. It starts to mellow out after the first third, and it has a little more toasty component to it, and the flavors start to come through in the middle, and then in the end, in the final third, it really kicks into high gear. And if you're not careful, you start to get dizzy, because it's such a potent little cigar. It needs some time. It's a winner for sure. I'm calling this one a box split as it is now. I'm sure it's going to be box, excuse me, box worthy or better when this one ages. I think
So
that's pretty close to your assessment on it too, Will.
yeah, long story. I haven't really smoked it yet. I started to smoke it and had an unfortunate distraction.
You had
Won't go into.
a cell phone destruction.
Basically, I broke my phone, but that's another story. But um, that's been. What's interesting is since the Padron families are 45th, I found that that's been the case with 46 and the 85th as well. Did you find this blend? I mean, Padron doesn't talk too much about the blends here. Did you find it very different from the 85ths and some of the other family reserves?
Yeah, I found it had a more kind of like a medium bodied, more on the toasty side of the kind of flavor and aroma spectrum than some of the other ones, which definitely lean more towards a coffee espresso kind of flavor profile.
Okay,
Am
that
I
that's
way off
kind of
base
how I say
there?
the other ones are.
Is that a fair assessment, Will, or am I smoking
No,
crack?
I think that's very fair.
Yeah. Although the 85th natural um, is definitely different in the flavor profile for me. Just got an amazing kind of medley of different flavors with the 85th natural. So much so that I need to go get more of those, because those are just. I smoked this one and I remembered how much I loved the Family Reserve blend and how much that 85th natural stuck out in my mind. I'm curious to try this 50th in a natural wrapper now too.
Do you have one in the natural as well?
I don't know. In fact, Mr. J's was sold out by the time I got there.
Yeah,
And,
I
and
got one. I got one in the natural. I got to smoke.
yeah, I'm curious to see what you think of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to that.
I mean, they do need age. I agree with your assessment on the 46 too. I wasn't in love with that cigar when it first came out, and then I smoked it a year or two later, and completely head over heels in love with that cigar.
Me too.
Um, so I just think these need some time to age, and certainly, if you were to buy a box of any of the family reserves, you're not going to be disappointed.
No, I mean, like I said, they've all come around at one point or another.
Yeah,
I was very worried about the 85th when it came out. I'm like, I think this is a miss. I think this is a miss, and then it really came around.
it did.
Yeah,
Yeah, out of it, and I don't think they really age out. They're not aging out anytime soon.
right.
You got some time to age these, 5
Yeah,
plus years at least to age these, in my
interesting.
opinion. Back to you, Will.
So as long as we're on the Padron theme, I hit up another Padron. I hit the Padron 1964 anniversary Bellicoso, the TAA in the natural. A few weeks ago, I talked about the Maduro, which, in my opinion, was the best. I've now smoked all the TAAs, but for this year, but the Tatuaje, and I have the Padron Maduro as number one, and I'll probably have this natural as number two. And I've kind of said overall, I think the set has been a disappointment this year, but the Padrones I think have been the two standouts so far, and I'll see what the Tatuaje does. It's this TAA Bellicoso is a 5x52 box press Bellicoso. It's according to Padron, it's a one-time run of this TAA. They have a TAA in the Toro that they do every year, but this is supposedly a one-time run. Um, like I said, it wasn't quite as good as the Maduro, but it still was very good. It had notes of had those coffee bean notes, some nut, natural tobacco sweetness. The nut flavors kind of really take over in the second half. The only issue I had with these cigars, and I smoked a couple of these, is I found this was a little bit of an open draw on the box press, which not saying it's bad construction. I think it just drew a little looser than I like on a box press, and I found they both, and maybe this was more me, they got a little harsh at the end. Maybe because I don't know if I was drawing them too hard. I don't think I was, I don't smoke fast, so I'm not thinking it's that, but they did get a little harsh at the end. But for the most part, it delivered a really good smoking experience. It's definitely one of the better TA releases, and I still have this one as a box split. I would say if folks see these TAA Bellicosos, I'd also check them out and I'd smoke them now because typically, I think we've talked about it, the experience we've had with the 64 anniversaries, they tend to smoke good when you get them, and their aging potential is questionable.
Yeah, I agree. I don't. Maybe one exception to that might be the pyramid, which I think actually does age pretty well.
I don't smoke enough for the pyramids, and that's probably just. I've always smoked the exclusivos in the 64 primarily. So I'll have
Yeah,
to check out. I may have a couple of those in my humidor in the Maduro.
I definitely have a box that's been aging for a while. If you remind me, I'll when you come up here for the 3 year anniversary, we'll break them out.
Oh, that sounds like a plan.
I did an interesting little experiment, Will. I smoked the Herrera Esteli Norteño,
Uh huh.
and I smoked one of the newer ones, which was the Corona Gorda. It's that 4 3/8 by 48 size.
Mhm.
I believe is the one that I smoked. And I also smoked a pre-release, which was a box press of this blend, which Willie gave to me himself last year when he was up here doing an event. And for whatever reason, I never get around to smoking the the pre-release. I think some of the other guys might have smoked it on the show, um, and so I didn't feel the need to kind of rush into it. And then when I heard it was coming out this year, I was like, well, it'd be kind of cool to compare the pre-release to the actual blend that had the real band on it and all that stuff. The pre-release had just a very basic band on it and things like that. And he didn't want the pictures going around on those other bands either. So I took a picture of it unbanded, but right above it is I like the band that he put on it. It's white and green, very very cool looking band and very cool looking cigars. This is kind of like it's not a box press. It's almost like an oval kind of shape to it on the Norteño Corona Gorda. So I smoked the new one first. It's not a bad cigar by any stretch of the imagination. It just seemed to be unbalanced, and to use Stogie Santa language, it didn't know what it wanted to do with itself. There are some sharp flavors and aroma that start off in the first third of this cigar, and don't take that as a negative. I kind of liken it to some people like a really sharp kind of cheese, and other people like something that maybe is like a little sweeter or not so sharp. And this one kind of had some sharp flavors to start off with. I think this cigar will greatly benefit from age. As it smokes, some of the sharp flavors dissipated, but it was still kind of like it kind of tastes a little young to me. Have you smoked the new blend, Will?
I've not smoked the ones that are out now. I've smoked pre-releases,
Yeah.
and my experience with the pre-releases is exactly what you say.
Mm.
And again, I don't know if would need to give it more time. I don't even know if the blend is what the final blend is. But I got exactly what you said. There was that sharpness, and the cigar couldn't figure out what it wanted to do.
Interesting. Now I smoked the pre-release. This is a pretty large box press cigar. I want to say it's probably like a 7 by 50. It's a pretty large cigar. And this one, as I said, was gifted to me by Willie about a year ago. And I don't think he didn't come out with this size in his final line, correct?
I don't think. No, I don't think there's a 7 by 50 in there at all.
Yeah. So this one was much better. It had a much smoother flavor profile. Um, it still had a little bit of that. Don't know what I want to do with myself, but there was a little bit of a sweetness component, and again, it had some smoothness going for it too. The flavors were still kind of like a little all over the place, but not in a terribly bad way. I enjoyed this cigar very much so. Again, because it had some time to settle down. Some of those sweeter flavors were able to come through in the blend, and some of that smoothness component was present in the blend after that little bit of time. So I'm calling, both of these a try one. I want to revisit the newer ones in about 6 months or so. I think they'll be in some prime smoking shape.
Yeah, like I said, when I got the samples, they were, and I think there was 6 by 50s I had.
Hmm.
I tended to smoke them right away just because I wanted to try them. And in both cases, I thought they were young,
Right.
but they were pre-released, so you chalk it up. Okay,
Yeah,
maybe,
exactly.
yeah. I think there's potential with it, certainly.
I agree.
Yeah.
Back to you, Will.
So I smoked the Crux Nymphomaniac
Mm.
this week, which
Nice.
a lot of people have been talking about. Crux was kind of the rage of the new boutiques at the trade show, and it's a Nympha. It's a 7 by 33 double perfecto with two closed ends, and it's got a Habano Jalapa a wrapper, an Indonesian binder, and a Viso, basically Viso filler. Um, so everyone's been talking about this cigar. I know you smoked it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I liked it.
Very, very similar thing. I started smoking this cigar, and it just there was nothing for the first half. I mean, it was just like I was waiting for the cigar to do something. It was kind of dull, very woody, um, and then the flavors popped about midpoint, and I thought there was some really good flavors. I mean, actually quite a bit of flavors. There was some coffee, citrus notes, that nice sweet baker's spice. So it got interesting, but then it got harsh in the last third on me. Each time I smoked it, and I thought it got very spicy and overwhelming. There was nothing wrong with the construction of this thing. In fact, this thing I didn't have to cut the footer on this thing. It burned. It burned perfectly. The other thing I'll be critical about this cigar, and this is nothing against the blend, I think there's extremes in cigars, and we hear everyone say that the 60s, when you get above a 60 ring gauge, a 70's too big, an 80's too big. I think there's something when you get below a 36 or 38. I think this
Yeah.
is too small, and
Interesting.
yeah, and it just didn't. It really at 5.99, it's not a bad price. It's a try one, but in my book, I can probably name a lot more 5.99 cigars I'd go for. Like I said, I don't really have to wait for the cigar flavors to pop on this thing. Um, so that's my assessment on it. I've smoked some other things from Crux and they're good. So, but this one I just wasn't. It didn't do it for me.
I actually I did smoke another one from Crux. I didn't put it in my notes. It was good. I unfortunately don't remember which one it was. I smoked some of their other sizes that were available. locally here at Mr. J Savannah Smoke Shop, as they just did an event with them, so they were pretty well stocked on some of that stuff. Um, I thought they were good. It was nothing. I'll smoke some more and include them in my notes in future shows. I liked the Nymphomaniac better than the other couple that I tried. I think that's so far their belle of the ball. And I disagree with you, Will. I didn't think it was too small. I thought for that size ring gauge cigar, it put off a lot of smoke and had a lot of character, and made up for its size. Right. I guess size isn't everything for me.
I mean, it was.
I
I
just
think
keep
it was
telling
more of a
myself that.
personal. It comes down to a personal thing in this case. That's why I said
Yeah.
this wasn't the blend. I just don't think a 33 ring gauge, a 7 by 33 is a cigar I'm comfortable smoking. I need a little more of a gauge on that cigar
Mm.
at that point. And I'm not a big cigarillo guy either. So I mean, that kind of is for the same reason.
I smoked an Avo 22. This is a limited from 2002.
So you
Uh,
broke open the set.
yeah, so those that listen to the show know that Avo has released a whole set of his limited editions. Everything from 2001 all the way up until 2014. Is it 2014 in there?
Everything but the 2005s in there.
So 2014 is included,
Yes, it is.
but 2005 not because you didn't have tobacco. We've talked about that on the show before. So I've started smoking through them. Um, this was actually the second one I smoked. I started in 2001. I'm starting to work my way up. So this was the Avo 22. I meant to have the book in front of me so that I could read off about this cigar, and of course I don't. I apologize for that. It's an Ecuadorian sun-grown wrapper, Dominican binder and filler, and it's a 5 7/8 by 50 size. And there was also a European size. You had this on your blog, Will.
Correct. They made two that year.
Yeah.
But the one that's in there is the U.S. one.
Yes, this is the U.S. size.
The European was a 43
Gotcha.
ring gauge.
So the flavors in the cigar are really awesome. I expect this one to be really mild, and it was on the mild side, but full in flavor. The shape is just awesome, making for some nice change-ups. This makes a really great morning cigar with some punch to it. So I was happy to smoke it. I think I called this one box worthy, and I like the Ecuadorian. Well, this is a sun grown, not a Connecticut, but it was in that mild category. I would put this in my smoking rotation when I would reach for an Ecuadorian Connecticut.
Yeah, the 22 is in the 22 and the limited the LA 2005 are considered kind of the legendary cigars in that lot. I I think these blends were reconstructed. Um, but I am curious what that's going to do over time. That 22, because like I said, the 22 is one of the most sought after avos out there.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
was wondering that too, Will, because it didn't smoke like something that had a whole bunch of 13-year-old tobacco in it.
right, and I don't think you could expect it to. I've not had I've not had the 22. Unfortunately, I can't comment on it. It's one of those like
Mm,
wish list. Now I got the sampler. It's a different story, but it's always been one of those bucket list cigars to try.
I gotcha.
I mean, box worthy is nothing to be described. That's a very good cigar. So
It was very good.
yeah.
Go ahead, back to you, Will.
Smoked. This was a bucket list cigar that I had not had. The Ramon Aliones Gigantes, and this is a 7 5/8 by 49 Corona Doble Cuban, gifted to me by Seth at Seth's Humidor. So a little bit of the story that Seth and I were talking about some tatuajes and the double Coronas that have been used on a lot of the monsters, and we were kind of just talking about how it's very hard to get a good Corona Doble out there. And he said, "Hey, have you tried this cigar?" And I said, "No, I haven't." So he gifted me this a few weeks ago. I finally got around to smoking it this weekend, and it wasn't what I expected, to be honest with you. It was a lot. It was a lot more dialed back than I expected. It was more mild to medium in strength as well as mild to medium in body. It wasn't something that had these heavy flavors on the palate, but it was loaded with flavor. I mean, this thing had earth, nuts, pepper. It had that sweet natural tobacco. I got a little bit of orange peel and toast along the way. What was really interesting about this cigar, and it burned fantastic. It kept its flavors throughout it, but it seemed like it was tailor made to be something dialed back. So I don't think this cigar would have been really good if it had those bold, full flavors. I think the subtlety of this cigar was its strength, so to speak. Um, so I enjoyed it. Like I said, I was glad I got an opportunity to smoke it. I put it as a box split, and I could see it maybe smoking some more of these. Maybe over time, I don't know if they're more aged, they could go to box worthy. But it was a very good cigar. I was very impressed. I had not smoked this before, so I kind of got to cross that off this week.
Very cool. I smoked the other Avo that I smoked this week, which was the 75. This was the limited from 2001. This is a double Corona size cigar. And let's see if I've got the blend information. Again, I forgot to take the.
I have it if you need it.
I got it's Ecuadorian sun grown wrapper, Dominican binder and filler, double Corona 7 by 50. Um, this one was really. I tell you what, as far as double Coronas go, this was one of the easiest double Coronas you ever want to smoke. Um, very nice, kind of mild to medium strength when it starts up. Nice toastiness component to it. It built in strength. By the time you get down to the end, it really kicked up in strength. So much so, this might be more of a midday cigar than a morning cigar for you. I found this blend to be a little stronger than the other one. I'm calling this one a box split.
Are you a fan of the Avo signature?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was the signature. They based that blend very closely off the 75th. So I could see you kind of liking
I
both.
like, well, I'm, I tell you what, as far as some regular cigars that I smoke, um, I think it's the signature that's up there. I got to see what the band looks like. Hang on. Yeah. Yeah, I like the signature, and is that the one that comes in a tubo as well? The signature.
I think they have a Tubo offering with that. It's the one with the reddish band on it.
Yeah, I like the signature, and and I like the XO.
That's the orange one. It's a milder cigar. That's a very good morning
Yeah,
smoke.
yeah, I like both those blends a lot. Those are kind of like good everyday smoking cigars for me. A little higher on the price tag, but they always smoke great and they always deliver. And they're not too strong. You can smoke them, between morning and kind of noonish time. That would explain why I like the cigar so much.
Yeah, yeah. I went to a tasting, an Avo tasting in Chicago a few years ago, and they gave us three cigars. They started with the XO, and then the second cigar was the signature, and then the
Yep.
third one was the heritage, and it was taking you through different profiles of Avo from
Yeah.
the milder end to the more full end, and it was really kind of interesting to go through that.
What was the last one? The Heritage.
The heritage, which is a more fuller Avo,
Yeah.
more full in flavor. I'm not gonna say it's not a nicotine bomb.
I'm just a big fan of all three of those lines, really, to be
Yeah, I
honest
mean,
with
like I
you.
said, when going through that and kind of a tasting like that, it was just a great progression.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and like when I'm not sampling cigars for the show, I mean those are three lines that I reach for just to have a nice cigar that I just sit back and enjoy with coffee or something.
yeah,
Not something I would have later on in the evening, like with a glass of scotch or something. But those are great day smoking cigars to have with coffee, for sure.
no, I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah,
And the signature is one of those cigars a lot of people forget about. It's a great cigar.
yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean sometimes I found them in shops and they've been sitting for a while and they're already aged and you take them out of the tubes and they have plume on them and stuff.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, it's just they're very very smooth cigars. So and ones you can give to newer smokers too. I mean they're a little high in the price tag to maybe give to a newer smoker who may not finish it, but um, that Avo XO blend in that Petite Corona, the Intermezzo. No, that's the Tubo. The Presto size in the
The Presto,
XO.
the little short one.
Yeah, I
Oh,
bought a
it's
box
a
of
little.
those.
Yeah,
And my if my family comes over to have a cigar, like I almost need to buy another box because they smoke through them all along with myself. So
yeah. And like I said, that cigar, I happen to like that cigar because if I go down to the office and if someone's going out for a cigarette break, I'll take one of those with me.
absolutely,
Yep. And then they'll complain about my cigar smoke, but that's okay.
I'm sure they will
Yeah.
take every opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Back to you, Will.
Um, so still working my way through the Pudgy Monsters, and I've been going backwards, so I'm getting to the end of them, and I smoked the Drac this week, which is the Bellicoso shaped Habano Ecuador Maduro wrapper with Nicaragua binder and filler. So pretty much, I think everyone knows the deal with the Pudgy Monsters. They, for the most part, are these. They're using the same ring gauges as the original Monsters, but they're using the shorter lengths that were in the Little Monsters. And Drac's been one of those in the Monster series. It's hit me different ways. I think it's got a maybe just depending sometimes on my mood is really. I've always found the Drax between a fiver and box split, and this one I'd say is pretty much in that same wheelhouse. It's got notes of white pepper. It's got this orange peel flavor. It's got chocolate, a little grass in there. It's a medium to full in terms of strength and body. It's not going to overpower you by any means. What I found about smoking, and I went through a lot of the little Dracs, which were the little monsters, and I found that when I went back and revisited the little Dracs this year after 2 years of age, they're fantastic. So, this Pudgy Monsters one, it's got a few months of age. It doesn't quite have the ages that I had on the little Dracs, but it's still a good cigar. I think it's worth a fiver. I've been overall pleased with the Pudgy Monsters. There really hasn't been a miss in my book with that set. That's for $95. You get a nice sampler of 10 cigars, 7 different blends. And I haven't had a dog rocket in them yet. So overall, I have to still smoke the Frank, which will probably be my Halloween smoke, and I'll be able to wrap it up. But how far have you gotten through your Pudgies?
I think I just smoked the chalk and the tiff. To be
Okay.
honest with you.
Yeah, you definitely give some of those other ones a shot. I think the surprise of all those was the Jason.
Mm.
The Jason was because I didn't like the original JV13, but the Jason was really the surprise. I didn't expect it to be that good. It really was.
It's some serious smoking time if you look at the between the Tatuaje Lanceros set and the Pudgy Monsters, and then now this Avo set. It's like all ones you gotta like take your time and smoke through all of them. So
Yeah,
it's
no,
taking me some time.
and we were talking about that Reservoir Dogs series beforehand, and I actually want to get that set. And by the way, there is a Mr. Pink. Just I forgot to
Nice,
mention that.
nice,
So 262 is making that. So that's another one I'm putting on my checklist to get. So another sampler. That's pretty interesting.
cool. Let's see. I smoked a Liga Privada T52 Bellicoso. This comes from that sampler set. Um, this one was good. It was like unbelievable the difference between the Bellicoso size in this T52 and the Toro that I smoked. Now the Toro that I smoked from this sampler set that had some age on it was Oasis. I think I rated it Oasis on the show.
Yeah, yeah.
This one was a try one. I really thought a lot about this one, and because I was thinking, well, there's a huge difference here between the two. This one was just a try one. It was good. It was. I'm glad I smoked it, but I'm not heartbroken that I don't have another one. To be honest with you, I'm not sure what it is about this size, the way it tapers. I want to say there's some inconsistencies in this blend. Will I hate to say that about a blend, but I've noticed in this T52 size that there are some inconsistencies. And based on this one, this may be the only T52 I smoked in this size. Right now, it stands as a try one for me.
Accurate. The Toros is head and shoulders
Yeah,
above any. It's bell of the ball. Um, what I've noticed, I the T52s that came out this year by Drew Estate, and I know that, and I wish they would put vintages on them. I think it would be great if they did. Right?
yeah.
They were fantastic, but the ones that came out last year were probably not my favorite. And I'm wondering maybe there was I don't know. I'm guessing, but there's been inconsistencies among the different vintage releases that they've been doing. So I don't know how they built those samplers, but there's definitely the point well taken, inconsistency there. But um, Yeah, I mean, I've not been wowed by the Bellicoso as much as I'd really like the Toro and the Robusto have been my two favorites, and I'd say those two are stand much higher.
Cool. Will, what else you been smoking?
I'm out. I'm done for this week. So you got a few.
Yeah, I got a few more on my list.
Okay.
Um, let's see. What else do I have on my list here?
You got some pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I ended up. Oh, so I smoked a Fuente Opus X Forbidden X Lancero from 2010. Um, I meant to link. Hold on, let me see if I can look it up here. As I looked at this one, dude, I realized that I may have smoked a 2009.
Well, the box
Um,
said 2010.
yeah, but before, so I bought two of these, the CFCF boxes.
Uh huh.
Let me see, Forbidden. Yeah, so I smoked in July of 2012. I smoked the Opus X Forbidden X Lancero from 2009. I rated it box worthy, leather spice, pepper up front, sweetness, and this one I rated just a fiver. Um, it started off with that classic Opus flavor. This is the 2010. Touches of leather and sweetness. Has that graham cracker sweetness. Picks
Yep.
up in strength. Um, the sweet flavors are great in the first two thirds, but kind of dissipate in the final third. And I rated this one a fiver. So the 2009 vintage was much better than the 2010 vintage. I kind of purposely didn't look at my review from 2009, knowing that I
Right.
smoked it. I didn't want to, kind of taint my thoughts on this cigar. Still, I mean, this is a great cigar, and I think what else factors into this fiver rating is that, when you buy this box, it's $900 or $1,000, which equals out to about $40 a cigar. So, um, this does not rank up with me as something I would pay $40 a cigar for. I might keep five of them around. Who knows? Next year, after another year of age, it may settle out a little more. But that's the thing with these CFCF boxes is you really got to let them age to
Yeah.
get the full experience, in my opinion. So, still a very good cigar, but really only worthy of a fiver rating for me. And I guess my expectations were really high for this one, as it comes in that special set and it's a special kind of cigar. So you can see there's some cracks in the wrapper too that also kind of factored into the rating on this. I think for whatever reason, when they're in that coffin, they get bounced around no matter what you do, and they can suffer some damage issues.
Yeah, I'm seeing it now. I didn't notice that till you just said that, but I see the crack
And
towards the
that
middle.
and that got worse as I smoked it. So
Oh,
that's
really?
I think that's another reason between the Boxworthy and Fiverr rating that I gave it.
But the one thing you hit with that is that graham cracker sweetness is what I've always loved about that cigar.
Yeah,
It just when that kicks in,
it's so prominent and so balanced with that kind of leather component that you get from Opus. That's what I really like about the aged Opus.
yeah,
So I still have quite a few cigars to smoke from my 2010 CFCF box, which obviously has about 4 years 4 years of age on it now. So I'm gonna start smoking some more of those out of there. Oh, it's me again. Right.
yeah.
Um, this is my last one. A Xeno Platinum. Platinum. I think this is the make of Los Angeles. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure this is the make of Los Angeles.
Did you just pick it up,
I
or is
did.
it something you've had?
I just picked it up.
It might be the. I'm looking at it. Might be the Texas.
Is it the Texas? I think you're right.
It looks like it might be the
I had
Texas.
I had a tough
Just because I've.
time. That band that you see, the secondary band with the artwork on it, those black lines around the top, that was kind of giving it away for me that it was something different than the Los Angeles. So we're gonna have to update this post.
What was the size of the cigar? You
It
were.
was roughly 6 by 54, 6.5, or maybe a 5.5 by
Was it?
54.
It wasn't a. If yeah, the Texas is a 5.5 by 56, and the Los Angeles is a 6 by 54.
Yeah, it probably was the Texas.
Okay.
That's what I'm going with. Yeah. I questioned it because I had a tough time. I couldn't remember when I picked it up at I picked this up at Mr. J's. They had a box in there, and I couldn't remember what they said because Stogies and I were talking about the difference between the New York, the Los Angeles, and the Texas.
Uh-huh.
which are three very different cigars, all in this Zeno Platinum Limited series that
Yeah.
has the artwork that is associated with this series of cigars. Coop, you had a bunch of posts on your website about it, so you can go read about them there.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the artwork, and it looks like it might be the Texas
Okay.
artwork.
So this is a
Um,
Zeno Platinum, the make of Texas. Is that, do they call it the make of Texas?
Make it Texas. They debuted it at the show.
Okay. It starts off with a nice kind of herbal profile to it that you would expect from Zeno. Zeno has that very distinct herbal profile. It's not overly prominent, but you definitely get those herbal notes in it. It it kicks into high gear. Those herbal notes go away, and it makes for a nice kind of, I hate to use the word toasty again, excuse me, but it was a very nice toasty experience that I got with this cigar. I would rate it a fiver. If you like Zeno and you're really into Zeno cigars, you're probably going to want to do a box split or maybe even a box of these, as it was a very good cigar.
Yeah, the Los Angeles I liked a lot. I had it. I remember when I smoked the Los Angeles with a box split, and it had that herbal spice to it.
Mm.
And it was and it towards the second half it got pretty strong too. But
Yeah,
the Los
yeah.
Angeles I liked better than the New York.
Yeah, I think I smoked in New York. I don't remember what I said about it, actually. It's probably in the Stogie feed
Yeah, the New
somewhere.
York was the perfecto, I
It was
believe.
the Perfecto. Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
smoked that one too.
Yep.
I like Z. I'm probably of all the Stogie geeks that have ever appeared on this show, maybe even yourself included, Will. I'm probably the biggest fan of the Zeno and Avo, and maybe even Davidoff put together. I think
I'm a
I
big fan of the Xeno line. They've done some really good stuff over the past few years, especially the limiteds.
yeah
I have enjoyed these artwork things they've done too. I think
yeah
I kind of like what they've done with that.
yeah. I just those three brands really, I like them a lot. And not everyone is. I think the price tag puts a lot of people off, and I think the uniqueness to a lot of the flavor profiles that come out of those three brands maybe don't appeal to all the smokers. But me personally, I really dig them.
Yeah, the point, Xeno, they definitely are marketing the packaging to a younger audience, but I found the cigars very traditional. They're not
Absolutely.
like revolutionary by any means. They're very
No.
traditional types of smokes, and they're maybe a little more fuller than what you'll get off a classic Davidoff or an Avo line. Though is the difference.
Yep. Yep. I agree.
Yep.
Cool. All right. With that, we're going to take a short break, come back, and we're going to talk about pipes. This is the first pipe segment to ever air on the Stogie Geeks in almost 3 years of us doing this show. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.